You are listening to the Disney Dream Girls, an unofficial Disney Theme Parks podcast, and this is show number 395 for Sunday, the 6th of February 2020.
Where dreams begin.
Hello and welcome to this week's Disney Dream Girls. My name is Michelle Young, and together with my jolly good chum Jane Phipps, we are your guides to the place where dreams begin. Hello there, Jane.
Hello there, Michelle.
Are you well, my lovely?
I am, not too bad at all, thank you. You?
I am good, I am very good, but Jane, you know that song, I Think We're Alone Now? We're not alone.
Oh, we're not?
No, we have one of our lovely Disney Dream Girl podcast family members, the wonderful Deborah Wolfe, with us all the way up from that chilly there, Canada, coming to talk to us about a Disney trip. Hello and welcome back, Deborah.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Make all us Brits feel sort of like a little bit smug because it's like, what? It's 0 degrees by me today at the moment, which is 28 Fahrenheit. How warm and sunny is it in Canada?
Well, we just got out of an extreme cold warning. Well, I went running yesterday and this morning, and it was probably minus 35 Celsius with the wind chill, which I guess is the mid minus 20s in Fahrenheit. We're going up in temperature, but we're going to get 30 to 40 centimeters of snow tomorrow. It is just January in Canada.
30 to 40 centimetres of snow.
Our country grinds to a standstill with 3 to 4 centimetres, Deborah, okay? Just saying.
Yeah, ours will grind to a halt for 30 to 40 centimeters for sure.
I'm going to say, I can't even begin to imagine what that would look like, Michelle, can you?
It would look like Michelle not getting out of the house.
Oh, then again, I quite like the sound of this. That would mean that I could just stay at home all day, couldn't it?
Yeah, and just look at the window.
Yeah. That's how you do snow, isn't it? Just look at it, don't have to go out in it. Surely to goodness.
I'll just make sure that all my essential supplies are inside the house.
Definitely.
Anyway, Deborah, many moons ago we were going to talk to you about your trip. So I'm handing over to Jane.
Yeah, well, I think let's just establish we need to figure out when you went, where you went, more importantly, and who you went with.
Right. So my sister is just a few years older than me, and we both have 2 children, and some of our children have partners and some don't. And we have a brand new addition to the family as of September 2021. My sister became a grandma. I call her a very old granny, so which she's okay with because she has a grandson and he's just adorable. And, you know, during the pandemic, we've all had so many trips canceled. We had planned cruises, we had planned family trips, we'd planned get-togethers. And back in about April of 2021, we said, okay, well, we had booked a cruise for December. It became clear that we were not going to be able to go on a cruise. We're Canadian. There's extra rules for us going on cruises. And we just said, okay, we're not going to be able to go on a cruise. So we might as well. We had planned a couple of days before our cruise at Disney World, and we just said, oh, let's expand it. Oh, let's expand it by another couple of days. Oh, well, it just makes sense to expand it an extra couple of days. Next thing you know, we're heading to Toronto on December 10th, flying to Florida on December 11th, and coming home on December 19th. We went to Walt Disney World for that time frame. And when we booked our hotel rooms back in April, we had planned, we'd been looking at a bunch of different options. And from a cost perspective, the Swan and Dolphin are very attractive, particularly given you get deluxe benefits from them. And the location, for me, the big thing is the location. You can walk to Epcot and Hollywood Studios. And so I was working with a friend travel agent. And so she said, okay, I'm going to book the 3 rooms in at the Dolphin. And so she booked 2 rooms in, and the hotel was full. So booked a 3rd room at the Swan. So at the Dolphin was my sister and her daughter, and then my nephew, his partner, and their brand new baby. And then at the Swan was to be myself and my daughter and her partner in one room at the Swan. So that was the plan. That's not actually what happened.
Oh. That sounds intriguing. Having stayed at the Dolphin, I know of all the wonderful benefits that you can get there, along with those heavenly beds that are super comfy, but also the wonderful eateries that they do have there. But what went wrong?
Well, it wasn't what went wrong. It was kind of a serendipitous, but it turned out to be very bad. So we showed up at the hotel, and there was a little bit of drama getting from the airport to the hotels because we had booked through Happy Limo, and they were wonderful, but they won't install car seats. And so it took 2 engineers, and so I'm an engineer, My daughter and her partner are engineers, and my nephew is an engineer. It took 2 engineers and a teacher in training to properly install a car seat in a van. And then we got to the hotel. My sister and my nephew checked into their rooms, and I went to see how my sister was doing. And I just said to the check-in clerk, I said, "Oh, we're at the Swan. Do you think we can get a room at the Dolphin instead?" And she kind of looked at me with the, "I'm really busy. Do I need to answer your question?" But she said, "Yes. Well, yes. We have a room." And so she quickly gave me a room, presumably changing the Swan reservation to the Dolphin reservation. She canceled the Swan reservation, but didn't properly create the Dolphin reservation. So the Dolphin reservation never went into the system, never went into the Disney system. And so we had to, all week, we had to get special workarounds for early entry, for the evening hours. I couldn't buy Lightning Lane at 7 a.m. I couldn't buy, all sorts of things. And then I, to date, have still not got credit for my nights at the Dolphin, because the Dolphin's a Sheraton hotel and I'm a member of their loyalty program. So 8 nights at a hotel is significant. And I still haven't got credit for those nights. So it was really nice to all be in the same hotel. And the Dolphin's fine. I had never stayed at the Swan before, and I had stayed at the Dolphin. In the end, it caused some problems.
Oh, I'm really sorry to hear about that. But what did you actually think of the hotel since it's been refurbished?
So it's a lovely hotel. I travel a lot for work, so I find that the Disney hotels, they're beautifully themed, and you're in the bubble. Dolphin is a very typical Sheraton. As you said, the heavenly beds, love those a lot. There definitely was some maintenance issues. The shower curtains were installed incorrectly, which my daughter's partner fixed. The shower head was spraying sideways, which my daughter's partner fixed. The lock on the door, the extra lock on the door wasn't installed properly, so we just essentially didn't even use it. So there's some issues with maintenance, but I mean the hotel is it's perfect. It's great where it is. They are still not at full housekeeping services, so it'll be interesting to see if that ever comes back. No, so they pick up your garbage and they change your towels every day. And in fact, 3 of our days, we didn't even get that.
Mm.
Wow. I am hearing that, though. There are some issues in the Disney-owned resorts as well with regards to the housekeeping service as well. So.
And I don't need anybody to make my bed for me. I can do that. And really, we don't need our room cleaned every night. But it is nice to have, or cleaned every day. It is nice to have clean towels, though.
Yeah, no.
Oh, absolutely. And the refresh of the coffee for the coffee machine as well.
That's not a priority for me, because I brought my own travel kettle and I brought my own Earl Grey tea. But my daughter, absolutely, she's with you on that.
So let's just think a little bit. You've got a group. Would you like to just share what pre-trip planning you did to accommodate the very different grouping that you have on this trip?
It was a very different trip. We had been in May 2019 with that same group, plus my son, plus my niece's partner, and plus my mother and her at the time brand new husband. She was celebrating her 80th birthday, as well as her 3-month wedding anniversary. And so that in May 2019, and that was a very different trip because we stayed off site. But this time, instead of having somebody who was in their 80s, 2 people who were in their 80s, we had a brand new baby. And so we were looking at this going, we don't know how this is going to work. And it was challenging to learn how to do everything. The first couple of days were a little chaotic. We fell into a bit of a routine after that worked very, very well. But we also decided we didn't want to tie ourselves down with a lot of ADRs. And now you can book dining reservations at 60 days out. We picked just a few that we thought were really important that we would all be able to make it. And we knew that, a 3-month-old baby, they don't necessarily comply with we must be at rope drop. We must be at the ADR at, whatever time it is. And so we tried to go a little light on the planning, but I had, of course, booked the park reservations and planned where we were hopping to. We planned a few ADRs, but not a lot of them. So it was a lighter planning trip. More important was the matching shirts and the matching hoodies.
Of course, absolutely. The outfits have to be 100% perfect.
They do.
I love that idea. I don't think I can ever see my lot doing that for me, though.
No, they didn't comply actually with my desire for everybody wearing the same color on each day. But we all had matching hoodies, and my niece had designed the graphic for it, and my sister had them made, and they were stunning. In fact, cast members commented on them that they were just beautiful. And then we gave each other, my daughter and I gave everybody else matching pajamas, which we wore to our extra evening hours at the Magic Kingdom, and those were a huge hit as well.
Oh, I love that idea. Anyway, so we're now on your trip. Let's talk food, because you know what we like about talking food. Any standouts as far as snacks go?
We have several people in this group, myself included, who very much fall into the I get hangry if I don't eat frequently enough.
Yeah.
But and so we were a little underplanned when it came to meals. And I had said earlier that, we did a few less ADRs than I normally would have done. And I think that came back to bite us, because there were a couple times where a few of us were getting more than a little growly because we were without food. But, the typical things, a couple people love the pretzels. I love the special popcorn in Germany in Epcot at, what's it called? The German name for the caramel place, Caramel Kush.
Yes.
That popcorn, I love it. And my nephew does. And so we took turns buying bags and then sharing them. And we had chicken dumplings and fries at in Animal Kingdom, and those went over really well. A few, hits to Starbucks. And then, of course, it was Festival of the Holidays at Epcot. And so we certainly did go through to Hawaii and to a few of the other food booths and tried a few of those as well, and really liked those.
I must admit, the snack game at Walt Disney World I love, because, you can actually survive for a trip without actually having a restaurant or a counter service, and you could just live on the snacks, because you've got such a variety of meats, you've got sweet things, savoury things, all sorts of bits and pieces. But for me, I do like a bit of a splurge. I do like a bit of a sit down. So were there any favourite meals where you all joined together and sat, relaxed and enjoyed?
We did a couple of ADRs, but I have to say, and I did a Christmas gift to the entire family of taking us all to Space 220 for dinner.
Okay, just stop, Deborah. Adopt me. Adopt me, please. I want to be adopted. I will wear the hoodie. I will wear the t-shirt. Seriously, I will do whatever to go there. Carry on. Sorry, I'm being rude.
Well, it was a bit of a challenge even to get our ADRs for Space 220. It's a very, very popular spot. And we were 8, well, 7 plus the baby. And so trying to get an ADRs for 8 people was a challenge in general. But for Space 220, we ended up getting 2 ADRs for 4 people separated. And then we just went to the restaurant hostess stand and said, we've got a 4:05 and we've got a, sorry, I'm translating from military time to 12-hour, to 5:45, and we'd like to combine them. And they were lovely. They really helped us combine things. And we went to Space 220 and it was fantastic. Loved it, loved it, loved it. From the ride up in the elevator with the screens, it's as if you're leaving Florida and going up into the space capsule, and then coming in and seeing the lettuce growing on the side of the little tunnel, and then coming into this big room with these screens. Of course, it's actually space, right? And seeing ships float by, seeing astronauts out, with different things, either going for a walk or, carrying boxes or machines as they're going by. Cast members were fabulous. The food was really, really good. Now, it's, as I said, it's very expensive. It's $79 US per person, plus tax, plus tip. And then, of course, everybody had drinks. And we really enjoyed ourselves. And the food, I thought it was going to just be a really cool experience. And it's a neat environment, and it's going to be fun to see the screens. But I was actually really impressed with the food.
I must admit, we've had a fair few guests come on and talk about Space 220, and they've all said that the atmosphere is amazing. It is pricey, but the food is very, very good. But the price point perhaps isn't value, but it's an experience.
I would absolutely agree with that. And I think the desserts were the weakest part of it. And so the lunch, I was just listening to another podcast today, and the lunch is $55 US with just an appetizer and a main. And so I think that might be a better way to go for people if they want to experience it. But the one thing I wanted to do, and I didn't achieve this because we have a 3-month-old baby who didn't comply with our timelines, is I really wanted to be there during sunset, because apparently you get to see that.
Wow.
And we didn't achieve that, which is fine. You know, it's fine. It'll be there for a long time. I'm sure we'll get back and have an opportunity in the future to see that, but it didn't get to do it that time.
Okay. Any other restaurants or counter services that you had and you thought, wow, I have to tell people about this particular meal. It was amazing. It was fantastic.
We did Oga's at Oga's Cantina at Hollywood Studios at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday, including lots of drinks and the charcuterie board. The charcuterie board was surprisingly good. Again, you know, and they make the food look funky so that it's space food, but it was delicious and it was a ton of fun. And I hadn't told my family members very much about this at all. And I was encouraging them all to get the drink that makes your mouth go numb and, you know, all of these different things. And they all really loved that. And then one that is my daughter's favorite and mine as well is Sanaa. And so we did lunch at Sanaa on our first full day. And of course, it was a huge hit. The food is delicious. Our waiter was fabulous. We got to see the baby zebra. It was really lovely. So sorry, that wasn't a counter service, but Sanaa was also in there. It was really good. You know, we just did some of the standard places, Pecos Bills, and a couple of other spots. I'd have to go back and through my list here for the others. But I think a lot of times we would end up at Epcot at the day and just go around and look for, you know, the raviolis in Italy or the cheesy crabby cheese wontons in China, you know, those types of things at the end of the day to finish up our day and our experience.
Okay.
Sounds delightful. So this is a couple of years, isn't it, since you were last there? Attraction-wise, experience-wise, how did it compare? Was there anything that was different that you got to ride on for the first time?
Yes, I can't tell you how many trips canceled, both to Walt Disney World and of course to Disneyland Paris for the race weekend. But new to Florida, of course, is Ratatouille. I'd ridden it a few times in Disneyland Paris and it's adorable. You know, everybody loved it. It was really fun. But the big one that was the first time for me was the Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. We only were able to do it once. Everybody loved it. And my niece sang the song for the rest of the trip. And fortunately, the song is catchy and lovely. It's not it's a small world where you want to kind of push the person away and not listen to them anymore. But it was so much fun. It was lots going on. As I said, a catchy song, lovely story. It was really nice. I actually got to do it. Did I get to do it twice? No, I didn't get to do it twice. We were about to get on it during the evening hours, or during one evening, late evening, and it went down. And they won't give you a pass for it because it's one of the paid lightning lanes. But we got a pass to do other rides the next day.
What about Rise of Resistance? Did you manage to? Would that be first one for you as well, or have you been?
No,
done that?
I had done it before. I had done it, I guess, just once because I had been down in 2020. I actually was down twice in 2020, down to cheer for the marathon in January, and then I did Princess, the Princess race weekend in. So I got to do it then, but it was new for everybody else, and they were all blown away. We actually paid for the individual lightning lane for Rise of the Resistance, best money. I mean, when you've got a baby and you don't know when, everybody else doesn't know when they're going to go back again. I've got a couple of trips planned for 2022, but they didn't know when they were going to go back again. So I am all for paying for those individual lightning lanes. And I'm very specific. I'm all for paying for the individual lightning lanes because it's not like a fast pass, where you could get in line and you might wait 15, 20 minutes. With the individual lightning lane, we didn't wait more than 5 minutes when we did those. So absolutely worth it for Rise of the Resistance. And everybody loved it.
Worth noting.
Whilst we're talking about lightning lanes, let's just bring in about Genie Plus and Genie. Did you have any experience with that as well?
We've only bought it one day. So we were 7 adults. So it's a significant investment to buy the Genie Plus for any given day. If I were by myself, I probably would buy it every day just because it's kind of convenient. But with 7 people and with having to do rider swap, it didn't turn out to be all that useful for us. And as we were there, during the week, it got busier and busier and busier because it was getting closer and closer to Christmas. And I think there's a sweet spot for Genie Plus where it's kind of busy, but it's not super busy, because if you get to the much busier part, the reservations start to go away. I really think that Disney needs to change something. Either they need to limit the number of Genie Pluses they sell, or, I mean, they have to do something, because I don't think that it's completely successful at this point. We bought it one day in Magic Kingdom, and at 7 a.m. I was on there, and I made the mistake of not having somebody beside me with a second hand. And I booked at 7 a.m. when the park opened at 9, the Jingle Cruise, which is one of the most popular at this point in Magic Kingdom. And it was for 11 a.m. So when we got there, we weren't able to book a second Genie Plus until 11 a.m. because you had to wait 2 hours after your booking, or when you've used the booking. And when you book it at 7 a.m. and the park opens at 9 a.m., it's 2 hours after 9 a.m. So we didn't actually get as much out of the Genie Plus as we could have. What was far more valuable for us was the evening hours that we were able to get, because we were in the Dolphin, which is classified as a deluxe hotel. There were a couple things that I think I made a mistake on. So one would be somebody sitting beside me with a second hand. So right at 7 a.m. you book your ride, and then you can, from there start to book more rides as you go along during the day.
Okay.
So it's going to be an interesting one going forward, actually, Genie Plus, isn't it? And like you say, I think it depends on how long you're out there for, and the time of year, and what the crowds are like, etc., as to whether or not it's a viable thing to actually do. So interesting times ahead, I think, for that. Anything else from your trip that you think, oh, I want to do that, or I'll do that differently next time around?
Well, a couple of things. I think I didn't spend enough time insisting that we get photos of the group. So when Michelle was saying, oh, who was on your trip? And I thought, oh, I'll grab a picture. I don't have a picture of all 8 of us together. And I purchased, so I have an annual pass because I'm planning on running some races in Disney World in 2022. And I paid extra to get the photo pass with that. Mm. And we didn't get a photo with all of us. Now, we've got lots of beautiful photos. And, if you have the photo pass memory or the memory maker, you need to take advantage of it, because there's so many lovely photos. We got some beautiful ones in Epcot in front of the Christmas tree, where they do a special one where it makes the lights of the Christmas tree behind you look like they're shaped like Mickey heads. Beautiful, beautiful. But I don't have a picture with all of us. So that I would do different. I assumed I knew everything about the Dolphin because I'd stayed there before and I'd been to Disney World for so long. I was kind of aware that they were no longer using the Interpark, the Disney Interpark travel system, bus system. They'd gone to the own Swan Dolphin and the Swan Reserve, their own buses. I didn't realize that they don't use the Disney bus stops at the parks. And so it's not a problem, and they only do it for Animal Kingdom. They only take buses for Animal Kingdom and Magic Kingdom because you can walk or take the bus or the boat to Hollywood Studios or Epcot. Not a problem in Animal Kingdom. It's just kind of on the opposite side from the Disney buses. At Magic Kingdom, they drop you at the Ticket and Transportation Center. I wanted to be, early hours are only 30 minutes. I wanted to make sure that we were 30 minutes before the 30-minute early time so that we were towards the front of the crowd. Well, they dropped us off at Ticket and Transportation Center, and then we had to take the monorail, wait for the monorail, loaded a monorail, had to get off the monorail, got back on the monorail, and by the time we arrived at Magic Kingdom, it was 10 to 9, and we'd missed the 30 minutes almost completely that day. So from a transportation perspective or from a learning perspective, I hadn't informed myself on that. And we ended up for a lot walking over to the yacht club and taking those buses rather than relying on the Swan and Dolphin buses. So that's something to be aware of there. And I think the other thing is the food. We mentioned food before, but just making sure that you're eating enough. I lost weight on the trip because I hadn't. Yeah, I know, it's so unusual. It just didn't take enough attention to making sure that we were all eating at the right time. And I had oatmeal in my room, which was great, get a little bit of something to eat before we get going in the morning. But making sure that everybody was well fed all the time, we didn't quite put enough attention on that.
That's a really good point, because there's nothing worse, as you mentioned earlier, a whole group of people all in a theme park getting hangry at the same time. And it's like, ah!
It was bad a few spots. There's several of us who get hangry and we're we're a very boisterous group at the best of times. And then when you put a few hangry people in there, it gets bad.
Oh dear. With taking a baby, how did you utilise the baby swap route, or what accommodations did you have to make to enable the needs of the baby met the whole bigger groups idea? Did you break off into splinter groups, or what? How did you do it?
Well, we learned after the first couple of days that we really need to not focus as much of having all 8 of us together all of the time. And I was kind of thinking about that at the beginning, before we went, but there was a lot of desire amongst everybody to always stay together, and you just can't do that when you've got somebody who's 3 months old who decides that they're having a bad morning and they can't make rope drop. But in terms of baby swap, it worked very well. It just slows you down. It slows the entire group down when you're doing baby swap. But there's you can look at different rides, and there were a couple times where I just said, oh, I don't need to do Space Mountain. I did it already. I'll just take Dominic, and everybody else can go onto Space Mountain. So we did a bit of that. And, sometimes it was my sister, sometimes it was me, sometimes it was my daughter and her partner practicing with the baby. And so that worked out very well, but it is not a commando go trip. It is paced a little bit differently. Taking advantage of early entry, and if you are in a deluxe hotel, taking advantage of the evening hours are really important in that type of context.
Now, I literally spoken to other people, and they've just sort of said, utilize that time, because you can smash out some attractions really, really easily in that time. And you're getting this benefit, use it.
Well, the early hours in particular, and don't say, oh, the park opens at 9 and the early hours at 8:30. I'll plan on arriving at 8:30. Don't do that, because you'll be at the back of the crowd. And plan out exactly what you're going to do. So our second morning at Magic Kingdom, we said, okay, everybody wants to do Space Mountain. Personally, I don't like Magic Kingdom Space Mountain. It's too rough for me. Disneyland Paris Space Mountain, on the other hand, is fabulous. But and so we did early entry specifically so everybody but me could go and do Space Mountain. And I had the Genie Plus photo filters. So Dominic and I, well, he slept the whole time, but I did the filters on the photos and just took photo after photo after photo and hung out with my great nephew.
Oh, that's really nice, though, isn't it? I think this is the key, though, isn't it? We always talk about this, though, with any Disney holiday. Do your research, do your planning, and know the ins and outs, I think, is key to any Disney World trip. And you mentioned you've got a couple of trips coming up. So where and when are you off to next?
So, well, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen, of course. I think that's the lesson for us in the 2020s. I am booked to do the spring races in Disney World. So that's the first weekend of April. I was booked and fully trained for the Dopey races just a couple weeks ago. And I had to cancel because Canada put in a travel advisory, and we're not to go outside the country. So some people are still traveling, of course, but it affects your ability to get travel insurance. And so I just said, I can't go to Disney World. I had to cancel out of Dopey. And that was devastating. Very, very difficult. But I did it. All the Canadians did it. People coming from Scotland, other places, they also canceled. But I'm scheduled for April, and I revenge booked 4 days by myself at Animal Kingdom Lodge before that weekend just to make up for the missed Dopey trip. And I'm booked for, I'm probably going to book for the Wine and Dine race weekend in the fall, which will be in November, just before my birthday. Probably extend that one as well over my birthday. And I still have my booking for the Disneyland Paris race weekend, but it's not clear whether that's going to happen or not. And I thought it wasn't going to happen in 2022. And then Disneyland Paris sent out a very odd tweet this past week with Goofy about races and 2022. So I don't know. Maybe there'll be a Disneyland Paris trip on my calendar for this year. We'll see.
Because it is their 30th anniversary this year, isn't it? So
that's right.
Yeah, you can imagine them wanting to make the most of it. So it'd be interesting to see what they do end up doing.
But they keep closing the borders to Europeans, and Canada keeps closing its borders. We've got similar issues all over the world. So it's just, flexibility, as in when you're in a theme park as well, as to whether you'll actually get there moving trips around, but actually when you're in a theme park is you have a plan, but as you did, the plans are set in concrete. They're there to be adapted, manoeuvred to suit the weather, the park crowds, and the feelings of the hangry group.
It's true, Michelle, and I'm not I'm the exact opposite of a spontaneous person, but in this day and age, we just have to be flexible, and I no longer believe that I'm going to get someplace until I'm on the plane. You know, we also have in Canada, we can't fly without being vaccinated. We can't cross the border without tests going south. You have to have an antigen test coming back into Canada. You have to have a negative molecular test, which usually means a PCR or some other similar test. So, you know, there's a lot of extra stress when you have those types of requirements. You know, it was very stressful getting the negative antigen test before going down to Toronto, and then, you know, of course, getting on the plane. But then, are we actually going to be able to get home? And for those of us who can work from home, that's fine. But some members of the family group, you know, work in a lab or, you know, have their part-time job at Starbucks, and, you know, it would be bad for them if they couldn't come home.
Lots of planning.
Totally agree with you on that one. It is a just wait and see, and I've got exactly the same mindset at the moment. It's I will believe I'm in the Magic Kingdom when my feet go through that turnstile.
Yep.
Because you just don't know. Well, lovely. Thank you ever so much for joining us this afternoon to have a little bit of a chat about your trip.
You're very welcome.
Love seeing when you go on races. The costumes you share are amazing. The detail is fantastic. So I am hoping we get to see them. You get to go and do your races that you've been training so diligently for. We wish you all the well with that, and don't forget to share your trips again with us.
Thank you very much, Michelle. I will not forget, and I had all my costumes planned for Dopey. I will just have to wear them again at a future race.
Absolutely. Well, as usual, you can find us on our Facebook page, Disney Dream Girls Podcast Family. There is our website, disneydreamgirls.com, Twitter and Instagram @DisDreamGirls. And we also have our Patreon show, patreon.com/Disney Dream Girls, where you will find a whole smorgasbord of additional podcasts, exclusive audio, and also the opportunity to hear our shows a lot earlier than anywhere else. So why don't you pop on over there and check it out? Anyway, until next time, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.